Hey y'all, I'm back with part 2 of my July 2025 reading wrap up, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Books with Kimberly. Don't forget to like, comment, share my channel, and subscribe. Y'all, I am actually back with part 2 of my July 2025 reading wrap up. I read 5 books that I talked about in part 1 of my July reading wrap up. And today I'm back to talk about 4 more books. So I read a total of 9 books in the month of July. I'm so proud of myself because I feel like I'm officially out of my reading slump. So let's get into those books. So the main reason I know that I'm out of my reading slump is because I was able to take some books off of my soft DNF list, which is my did not finish list, but a soft DNF is when you plan on finishing those books. I was able to finish 2 books from my soft DNF list, and I'm super excited about that. The first one is Titus by Charity Danae. This was a novella. I really enjoyed this book. I don't know what about it the first go around had me stop reading it. I probably just wasn't in the mood for it, but as I continued reading, I thought this book was so cute. So this novella is about Titus and Quinn. Titus is a competitor in the Black Rodeo, and Quinn works for her family's boot company, and she's there to give sponsorships to some of the participants in the rodeo, and Titus is on her list. From the moment the two of them meet, they have chemistry. They hang out, go on dates, have steamy scenes all throughout this rodeo. It was just cute to learn more about the Black Rodeo and to get a love story throughout. I really enjoyed this story and I give it 4 stars. The next book is also a book that was on my soft DNF list, and that is Heat of the Moment by Briann Danae. When I first started reading this book, I kind of didn't like that there were lack of details about the characters' backgrounds, which you don't really learn until later into the book, and I wish those details would have been more upfront. And also, I was comparing this book to Keep You to Myself by Briann Danae, which I absolutely loved and gave 5 stars because there was such an emotional pull to this book. Whereas this one kind of reminds me of her erotic love languages series, where it's kind of more about just the two of them linking up, having those steamy scenes, but there is a relationship that is built. The main characters of this story are Savannah and Zahir. One night, Savannah and her friends are celebrating her new job opportunity, and they dare her to have a one-night stand. She looks around the club and she chooses Zahir, who is the finest man in the club. The two of them have a real steamy night. And then fast forward like a week or 2 later, she's at a birthday party for her godson. And come to find out, Zahir is the uncle to her godson. And so the two of them do end up reconnecting. They have chemistry. They have things in common. He seems like a really good guy. I think they have a good thing going on. This is a shorter story, so you didn't get to see full development of their relationship, but you got just enough to know that the chemistry was there, that it will lead to love in the future, and that there's more than just steaminess between them. So I did end up really liking this story, and I give it 4 stars. I also ended up finishing the 2 current reads that I mentioned in part 1 of my July reading wrap up. The first book is Vicious Bonds by Shanora Williams. I told y'all that I was excited about this book. The only thing was that it's romantasy, and I'm not the biggest fan of romantasy. I was really looking for a book that's high fantasy, Black representation. I saw recommendations of this book and I was hoping that's what I was gonna get, but it wasn't. I'm gonna be completely honest, 65% of this book was a doozy. I had 0 interest in what was going on. Vicious Bonds is about Willow and Kaz. The two of them have a cold tether. They find this out when one night Willow just magically appears in another world where Kaz lives, and he's trying to figure out how to get her back. They discover that the two of them have a cold tether, which is basically like them being fated to be together. And so they go on this journey to finding out why can they hear each other in their minds, where did she come from, how to get her back home. But this whole journey that takes up about 65% of the book, it did not interest me at all. Like, I just do not feel like it was entertaining. I don't think there was good banter, humor. There wasn't any chemistry built between these characters. I don't think I'm a fan of this cold tether or characters being faded to one another unless they really develop that chemistry and the couple really do like each other. But this just felt a little underdeveloped. I think that they were just two people who, through the course of this journey, find out that they are cold tethered together, and so they just naturally want to be in the same room, but they really don't have things in common. They really don't like each other. It's just because of this cold tether, they're drawn to one another. And that's okay, but it doesn't give me the romance that I'm looking for when I want a romantic subplot or when I'm reading a romance or a romantasy. So that was kind of like my biggest negative thing about it, as well as just nothing really happened that was interesting within the first 65% of the book. I really thought I was going to give it a 2, but as the story continued to unfold, we did find out more information, and there's a quest that I believe is going to be happening in the second book that I actually want to read about. And also, the main character is a twin. Willow has a twin brother who just disappeared one day, and I'm nosy and want to know what happened to that brother. So I'm curious if the brother is going to reappear in a later book. And also, I want to know about this quest of them finding out the origins of their cold tether and whether their cold tether is going to be the death of them or not. So the actual fantasy elements, the mystery of the brother, that is drawing me in. And so I decided to give this book 3 stars. I didn't really like it, but for some reason, because of those 2 things I just discussed, I want to read book 2. This time around, I'm going to read the ebook version. And honestly, if I'm not drawn to this book within the first 2 chapters, I'm going to give it a hard DNF. The last book that I read in the month of July was Blood in the Water by Tiffany D. Jackson. I was hesitant about this book because I found out it is middle grade, but I knew that Tiffany D. Jackson could knock a middle grade book out the park. And y'all, that is absolutely what she did. The main character is Kaylani. Kaylani is 13. Her father is in prison. The dad was working at a law firm, and there was evidence piled up against him that he was stealing money from the business and putting it in an offshore account. He says he didn't do it, but he can't prove that he didn't. So Kalani, y'all, she is so sweet. She's been going to the library, and instead of doing arts and crafts, she's been researching how she can help her dad and the lawyers get him an appeal and get him free. She joined a mock trial to get more information. She's researching things. She wants to be a part of this program to learn more about the legal process. And so I just found her to be so endearing. So her mom decides that she should go to Martha's Vineyard with family friends and spend the summer out there just enjoying herself and being a kid and not worrying about her dad's case. She goes to Martha's Vineyard with 2 sisters, London and Cassie, and their grandparents, who have this huge mansion. It's literally like one of the biggest houses in Oak Bluffs. First of all, I love that this story highlights Oak Bluffs. So there is an incident that happens to a young guy out on the beach. Kaylani and her friends, who she makes while there, they start investigating and trying to find out what happened to this young man. Y'all, Kaylani is super quick, witty, and smart, and I just love this story. I do think that the mystery was interesting. It pulled me in. I wanted to know more. It did have me on the edge of my seat, and this was a middle grade book. I will say that she did kind of tamper things down. I know Tiffany D. Jackson, if this was a YA book, she would have went there. Like, she would have done something to really mess with the reader's mind, have you thinking one thing when it's really the other. And so I felt like her signature and how she writes these thriller mystery novels was watered down for middle grade. So that's the only reason that I'm giving it 4 stars. But I say for a middle grade book, it is definitely a 5-star read. But comparing it to what I'm used to from the author, I give it a 4. It was really cute though, and honestly, y'all, it has me wanting to read YA again. I will say that July was a really good reading month. I did want a 5-star read, but 4 stars are not bad. And I do think I'm officially out of my reading slump, and now I want to read more YA, and I also want to finish some of the other books that I soft DNF. So get down in those comments and let me know what books you are currently reading, and thanks again for tuning in to a Books with Kimberly video.